Hey guys, welcome back to WOD TV. It's Cam Burtwell here with Lucas Parker, and today we're going to talk about some supplements that are really going to help you get your best performance in the CrossFit Open this year. And these are performance-oriented supplements, so they're strictly going to help you develop your energy systems or maximize your energy systems during the Open, which obviously all of you want to do.
That's right. No matter what type of athlete you are going to be significantly challenged and called upon in sort of all the types of energy systems we have, generally grouped into three. Sort of one, the creatine phosphate system for short, fast, intense bursts of power. Two, the glycolytic energy system for some sustained high effort. And three, the aerobic energy system for everything beyond a couple minutes of activity, essentially, and for recovery, of course. So the three main supplements we're going to cover today are going to hopefully have a direct impact on each of those energy systems. Creatine for the creatine phosphate system. Beta-alanine for the glycolytic energy system, and beet juice for the aerobic energy system. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of each of these. Creatine, everyone has probably heard about, but what does it actually do?
So when you take creatine as a supplement, it accumulates within your body, and specifically it accumulates within your muscle cells. And the more creatine you have inside your muscle cells, then the more you create this compound called creatine phosphate. And creatine phosphate is valuable because it helps to regenerate ATP, which is basically the energy molecule of all your cells, and it helps to regenerate faster. So you can perform these high bursts or these bursts of high intensity activity, say like on a snatch ladder or any kind of ascending weight ladder where you have to produce a lot of force very, very quickly. So the more creatine phosphate inside your cell, the faster you can regenerate ATP and the more force you can produce on a short term. It also draws more water into the cell. So water follows substrate. So if you draw more substrate into the cell, then you get a more hydrated muscle cell. Now, having a hydrated muscle cells benefit two ways. It basically makes it a more anabolic environment for the cell to grow and to adapt and basically get stronger. And it also is less catabolic, so it's less prone to break down under stress, which are both very important things when you're looking at doing these open workouts potentially more than once.
Exactly, and that all sounds really good. However, there are a couple potential drawbacks that I've definitely experienced. You mentioned hydration, but that water coming into the cell those are molecules with mass. And if you have millions of muscle cells in your body, that's potentially going to be a significant increase in your body weight just by drawing in the water to sort of come in with that creatine. And I know that when I've done a loading phase of creatine, I can gain literally like 10 pounds in just over a week. So it can be pretty dramatic, and I don't know if that's something that you want to have going into the CrossFit Open, where you're going to be doing lots and lots of reps of, say, like body weight movements in a lot of workouts. So something to watch out for there. The other thing is that I mentioned there's a loading phase. Creatine is not going to have an immediate impact on your performance. A lot of people market it and use it as a pre-workout supplement, but it's really only going to be effective after it's accumulated up to a certain level of sort of saturation within your muscle cells. Before then, it's maybe going to be working on an underlying level, but you're really only going to be able to draw on those massive stores after general recommendation is about like 6 weeks or so. So if you do start now, throughout the course of the CrossFit Open, you could start to see some benefits. So something to think about. The other supplement, or the next supplement to think about, is going to be beta-alanine. Hopefully going to have an impact on the negative effects of the glycolytic energy system. Can you dive into the physiology there?
For sure. So this is another compound that basically gets broken down and distributed into your muscle cells. And inside your muscle cells, it functions as carnosine. And carnosine is actually a buffer that acts inside that cell. So if you're doing sort of high intensity work, especially in that glycolytic kind of pathway, you're accumulating hydrogen ions. And those hydrogen ions, if they get to a certain concentration, they'll cause basically a drop in, or an increase in acidity, drop in pH, and that'll shut down your muscle cell. So by having more carnosine inside your muscle, you can actually delay that process, and you can continue to do high energy work for a longer duration of time, which obviously is the essence of CrossFit. So that's how basically it works for you inside your muscle cell.
That's right, and it's not, as some people might believe, associated with the tingling feeling that you get. A lot of people will take some beta-alanine and maybe 5 minutes to an hour after that, you'll start to feel a lot of like tingles in your fingertips and the back of your neck and stuff. A lot of people think that means that it's working and it's ready to improve your performance, but really that's more of just a side effect of the breakdown of the chemical compounds. Similar to creatine, it's going to take, a handful of weeks, sometimes 6 to 8, to really accumulate within your system to the point where it can be beneficial. So that's one of the drawbacks, but if you do start now, again, by the end of the CrossFit Open and during the CrossFit Open, as those chemicals build up, you could be seeing some benefits in your performance. And if that shaves off or it adds, 5 to 10 reps to your workout, that could, be a deal breaker for a lot of people. So definitely something to think about. With these supplements that require some accumulation in your system, definitely starting now to build. What about with the beet juice for the aerobic energy system? We might want to start now to experiment with a few things. What exactly is that going to do once we get it in our body?
Right, so you talked about creatine beta-alanine being sort of like long-term or 6 to 8 weeks of accumulation time. Beet juice is basically a supplement you can take and it has an acute effect, so a short-term effect. Usually you'll take it 3 hours before you exercise. And what's going to happen is beets naturally have a substance called nitrate inside of them. So when you consume beets, either as whole vegetable or juice or crystals, you're consuming nitrate. Inside your mouth, there's bacteria that actually function to convert nitrate into nitrite. And that further gets broken down into nitric oxide, which when it enters your bloodstream actually causes a dilation, so a widening of your blood vessels, which increases blood delivery to your working tissues, as well as oxygen delivery, right, and nutrients along with it. And potentially can also help you get rid of metabolites from high intensity exercise. So you're getting this basically better blood flow to the muscle and away from the muscle to affect your aerobic performance.
That sounds really good. The only things to watch out for with the beet juice is going to be any sort of negative effect on your digestion. So the experimentation with the beet juice is going to be, how much can you take to get a good performance improvement before you start to, get the runs essentially. Okay, so in closing, some specific recommendations for actually dosing this stuff. With the creatine, you can sort of just get on the regular dose, let's say a teaspoon a day for those 6 to 8 weeks to sort of build up through your system. If you want to jumpstart that a little bit, you can do a bit of a loading phase where you'll take a triple or quadruple dose for about a week, and that'll really help jack things up in your system, and then you try and maintain that. For the beta-alanine, similar, I usually will do about a teaspoon once or twice a day for those 6 to 8 weeks to sort of build things up slowly. I would advise against loading up the beta-alanine just because that'll really get you feeling really tingly and you'll probably just pee it out and waste it. What about the beet juice?
So beet juice, it really depends on the product that you're taking. So crystals versus concentrated beet juice versus regular beet juice versus beets themselves. Basically what you're looking for though is about the equivalent for 3 to 4 whole beets for sort of a normal sort of 200-pound male. So you have to scale that down a little bit if you're a smaller individual, or scale it up as needed. But definitely refer to the details on your product as well to make sure if it's a concentrated or non-concentrated product to know how much you're taking in.
So there you have it, guys. A few key supplements that I've used, that Cam has used, and that we both recommended for a variety of different athletes. So stay tuned for some more discussion on some actual nutrition and some other supplements we can do for sort of recovery in and around the weeks and in and around the workouts during the CrossFit Open. Thanks for watching.